Welcome, friends, to episode 283 of Color of Magic and Magic Gaming Podcast, where we talk about all types of issues that affect gamers at and away from their gaming tables and computers. I am your host, PowrDragn, and for 283 episodes, still got my main man down south, Brian Sonic. How's it going, dude?
It is going wild times in the gaming industry.
Bro, how hot is it down there right now? Y'all doing all right?
Oh yeah, it's fine. It's
Okay, that's
actually
good.
raining today, so
Oh, you got a reprieve.
yep.
So yeah, man, this week's a little bit weird. We have some stuff from Wizards with some I'll put in quotes broken promises. We have some business issues that happen. There are some layoffs that happen. So everybody strap in. This is kind of a not necessarily fun episode, but a very informative episode we've got for you. But before we get into all that, why don't you check us out over at patreon.com/colormagics. Throw us a couple of dollars to help keep the lights on. We'd really appreciate it. And you can get a shout out just like Arthur Min for supporting the show. But yeah, Brian, why don't we hop right in here and talk about Mark Rosewater? I mean, he's got a lot of stuff he says, stuff, especially, when it comes to Blogatog or whatever, he kind of, for lack of a better term, sort of just freestyles,
Yeah.
not necessarily corporate answers. He just kind of answers as he believes he should answer. And to be fair, he's senior staff there. I believe he's been there 25 years or 28
Yeah.
years, something like that. He's been there a minute. So, he can do that. So I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but sometimes in those or in interviews, he does say some things that later on the corporate heads say, nah, we're changing direction.
Great.
And that seems to be the case this week as he was heavily defending Universes Beyond. So how do you feel about all this?
I mean, it reminds me of when George Bush said no new taxes. And that's sure, but probably things change. You end up having to raise taxes, and then crap, you said, and then you're not elected anymore. And it's that kind of thing because Rosewater was in the time he said that we don't foresee we don't foresee a world where, like, let's say SpongeBob or Spider-Man or Magic cards. I think 10 years ago we'd have all said, yeah, there'll never be
Sure.
Spider-Man or SpongeBob and Magic. That would be insane. But again, when the people up top smelled the money, we entered a whole different universe. And yeah, now it's every Tuesday we get SpongeBob, Spider-Man, Avatar. That's where we are, and clearly we're unfortunately not going in the other direction anytime soon.
Yeah. And some of that, like you're saying, it's just a different time period. Like people forget there was a point where we were never like, even when I got to Wizards in 2016, we were still working on the idea of even letting Magic and D&D cross the streams.
Right?
And they own both those properties,
Yeah.
right? Like that was a
And
big
they're the
deal.
same kind of thing. They're dungeons, dragons, wizards, goblins. Those two obviously play in the same universe. And yeah, like you said, they didn't want to even do that.
But yeah, it was either late 2016 or early 2017 when they finally got the first couple of products that were crossovers.
So
And
yeah,
there
in
was
less than 10 years, we've gone from we can't even let Magic and D&D play with each other to what the hell? Let's let Doctor Who in here.
well, yeah,
I
but I think they saw how much money was in it, right? That's the reality. Like, but there was a point even prior to 2016, if you'd have asked people at Wizards, oh no, we don't do that, right? As far
yeah.
as Magic and D&D being a thing. And now it's normal, right? We get a lot
Yeah,
of hell, they share a convention now.
right.
Yeah.
Like we go from like we can't even cross over because literally Doctor Who is a universe in which one of the overriding rules is that magic does not exist. Every
Sure.
mythical creature you've ever encountered is really an alien.
Yeah,
Werewolves are
exactly.
aliens. Vampires are aliens, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's such a tough thing. And I was having a conversation with some folks over the weekend about how you kind of have to look at stuff almost pre and post COVID. The worlds are just as completely different. Like how we operate, how we think about stuff, which businesses do what, how people operate online. Like so much changed in that window of time that like you almost can't be surprised by companies changing direction, honestly. Now, admittedly, this started happening during the pandemic, really.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's completely new, but business pre pandemic and now is totally different for damn near everybody, it feels like. And hell, about to be even more different with tariffs and whatnot going into effect. So we're basically going to be experiencing 3-4 phases of business over the stretch of like 10 years, which is crazy. But yeah, I think what bothered people in his statements this week is that I guess people were quoting that fans won't quit because of Universes Beyond. And some people say, well, I don't know how he can just say, I'll quit and blah, blah. Okay, cool. You might. The same way that people quit when we took damage off the stack, when artifacts were no longer brown, when, like foils, every card comes in foil, not just the rares. Every single thing had people who were upset, but the game keeps growing and more people keep coming. So I understand his point that you will generate enough new customers and there will be enough new business and enough existing fans that do like whatever property it is you're
And
you're
what they know
promoting.
is that the majority of people probably only play Magic for what, 4 or 5 years, so they're not worried
Yeah,
about it.
it's 5 to 7 years
Yeah.
generally. And
So
so
once you put your almost like the military, once you put in your 5 to 7 years, they don't have to care about you anymore. You're not in the pool anymore. They'll
yeah,
replace you with new people in 5 or 7 years. They'll replace those people with other new people, and so on and so on. We'll all be dead and gone, and they'll still be cranking out magic cards.
yeah, and I will say, I don't know what that number looks like post COVID. I mean, like, so who knows? Maybe players are playing longer now because they readopted the game during the pandemic. Like, I don't know, but I mean, I can even tell you just from going to local stores and stuff, even from the players that are upset. Like, I still see them around. They might not buy a particular product, like say
Yeah.
they weren't into Doctor Who or Warhammer 40K or whatever. They just don't buy that, which is reasonable. Nothing wrong with
And
that.
even with that, they make so much product now to where they've replaced that. Like, okay, you're not going to buy everything, but there's so much product you no longer have to for them to still turn a ginormous profit.
Yeah, and people are showing up for it. Like, legitly, I for anybody who challenges that, I asked them, go to your local stores, multiple different stores if they're within driving distance. Go to Magic Cons, go to Command Fest, and just see what cards people are playing with and talk to them about cards and see some of these Universe Beyond cards that are on sale and what prices they're going for. Like, people want these and they're playing with them. I mean, we have multiple testimonials from people like, oh, I started playing because of Fallout, or I started playing because of Doctor Who, or I started playing because of Warhammer. And now they're just full-time Magic players and they just buy everything.
Fallout, another universe in which magic does not exist.
Yeah. But there were a lot of Fallout fans apparently. It sold really well. Now, again, was I a big fan? Not particularly. I played it a little bit, but it's cool that other people were, and I don't have a problem with people getting cool cards and being excited about them. For me, they're just different art on the card. Like, it doesn't really, I'm one of those people, it just doesn't matter to me. I'm sure it matters for other people, but just give me the text and what does the card do? I'll deal with the rest of it, right? But yeah, I think the idea, and I guess because of how it's worded, it people take that personally because it sounds a little callous. They're like, yeah, we're gonna keep doing what we're doing, and you're not gonna quit, so whatever.
Or
You
even
know,
if you do, you'll be replaced by somebody else.
yeah, nobody wants to hear that, but it's true.
But it's unfortunately how business works.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, it's just the nature of business. Like, there's
It's how Madden can be, in many years, if not bad, at best mediocre. But like, you know what? We're the only licensed NFL game. You're welcome to dip. For every NFL fan we lose, three more take their place.
yep. They've also around Madden figured out all the marketing and the tournaments and blah blah. So like, I mean, you can't not see it and get exposed to it in a lot of ways if you're in the
Swifties
sports
start
space.
playing Madden. I mean, it's just
When
and
who
probably
starts playing it?
the Swifties.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're people who would have never been in the football pool if not for Taylor Swift, and some small percentage will pick up Madden.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, right? Like, we kind of have to look at it that way. Is that while, let's say, with the upcoming sets, Final Fantasy or Spider-Man may not be for you, you will get the benefit of those existing, right? Wizards are going to make more money. Your local stores are going to make more money. The convention goers, vendors, whatever, all going to be able to make more money. There's going to be more players showing up to your tournaments. So those are going to make more often. we all get to benefit by more people being in the pool, right? Whether we like the product or the thing that drew them in, them being there is good for our ecosystem as gamers. Like, trust me, there are a lot of games, board games, card games, video games, whatever, that would love to have an outlet that brought in new faces from outside their space regularly.
Yeah.
They would take that in a heartbeat. But we see a lot of those things close down or get discontinued or whatever because they can't draw outside of their hardcore base. I mean, I would argue to some extent we were getting close to probably maximizing Magic's base. I mean, there was always going to be growth, but it might have been very small every year. Whereas now it's like, oh, these numbers we see now are 12%, 8%, 5%, hell, 18%, year over year or whatever. Like crazy numbers when you're looking quarter to quarter. So as much as we may not like it, like so far, it's working. I mean, like I don't it's it's one of those things like you could be mad at something, but if it's working, what is the other solution? You know what I mean? What are we when people are arguing, it's okay, let's say we don't do universes beyond. How do you propose you get that many new faces and that much more money through the system for a company?
And the average player, I think, cares as much about that as they care that we swap out one player for another. That's just how it.
Agreed. Agreed. Right. And we all want what's in our sphere. Right.
Yeah,
Like that's the thing we care about. But at the end of the day, business is business. And it's always been that way. People
yeah.
try, oh,
From the
well,
get
now
go.
Wizards doesn't care. And no, they've always been business, y'all.
Yeah,
Like you just haven't seen it as easily, but it's always been about business. Every decision they've ever made, trust me. But all right. All that being said, let's hop into the soapbox for a minute. And Brian, I might be getting a little soft because I don't get to complain about nothing this week. I actually have to praise the players, which is wild because the last time we had a major change for Commander and we were banning, unbanning stuff, moving stuff around, people got a little unruly, to put it nicely.
yeah.
Right? It was way off the beaten path. Like people just lost their minds. This time, we probably did more than has ever been, or at least in a long time that I can remember, been done to the format, right? Like we updated the brackets. There was some bannings, unbanning stuff got put on the game changers list, like just a whole bunch of stuff. And it was kind of okay. I wouldn't say radio silence. It was mostly positive,
Yeah.
honestly. The only people I saw complaining, like legit complaints, were people that seemingly had speculated on some things getting unbanned that didn't. And then, like, how could they not see that this needs to be off the list and blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how genuine their arguments really are, or if they were just griping because they spent probably $400 or $500 and didn't make anything. Like,
You
I don't
can't
know.
call that an unbiased opinion, clearly.
Yeah. So I don't know about that. And there were a few people that said they didn't agree with certain things or they would have preferred something else, but they were reasonable about it, right? It was constructive criticism and they weren't upset. So I don't know if this is just everybody was mostly cool with what happened, or everybody went, "Yeah, we all got out of line last time. Let's be cool this go around." Like I don't know which it was, but I'm appreciative. The announcement went really well, and so far, so good. And we still have some other stuff we're working on, and some other things that are planned. The Commander format panel, but the only thing I will say about this announcement that I wasn't a fan of is Gavin went ahead and just said, "Hey, we're going to try to do no more bannings or whatever the rest of the year." And I'm kind of like, man, it's only April, dog. Like,
They
you
did
know,
say we're going to try.
yeah. I'm like, we got 8 months, But he did say if something crazy like Nadu or whatever happens again, they'll, obviously we'll have to do something. But it's like, yeah, all right, cool. But I also get what he's saying too, in a sense that while we are trying to perfect the new system, we also do want there to be stability for people.
Exactly.
So if you're going to buy some cards to build a deck or whatever, you don't want to have that looming over you that like, when the next update comes out in, let's say 8 weeks or whatever, am I going to get punished for buying these cards or whatever, or building this deck? So you don't want people having to worry about that. And I totally understand. But overall, yeah, I was happy with it. Like, I mean, again, I don't know if it's just maturity from the situation that happened last time or just we got it right. I don't know which it is, but either way, I'm appreciative because I had set time aside already. I was like ready to go at the computer. We were all like, okay, here's how we
No.
deal with this if this goes down. And nothing happened. So yeah, no reports from anybody.
It is
Everything is
nice
good.
when you start putting up the defenses and then the barbarians don't charge the gates every now and
Yeah,
then.
exactly.
That's happened.
That's sort of what it felt like, honestly. So yeah, just round of applause and thank you to everybody because that made for a much easier 48 hours than I was prepared to deal with. So that makes it real good. Now that being said, you have a much more interesting story to share than mine.
Yeah, MLB The Show 25 has it's still a fun game. It has some serious glitches. I found out about one during one of my matches, and my opponent really was going to take serious advantage of that, and we went back and forth for about 2 hours. I think I kind of journaled the whole thing on App Trigger because it just ended up being a fascinating, bizarre, puzzling, just just an insane time, to put it mildly.
Yeah, I'm not going to ruin all the details. Like y'all need to go over to App Trigger and read the story because it was very interesting. I thought, but to encounter somebody like that that is that determined and sounded like they might have been mildly racist,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
to encounter that and have that person wants you to concede the game after all that, I'm with you, dog. I'm digging my heels in and
A
sleep be
game I was
damned.
winning, by the way. It's just like, no, we weren't even tied. Like, I'm destroying you, and your only hope is to glitch me out. Like, no.
No,
And
sleep.
again, if I didn't write for a video game site, yeah, I'd have given it to him. But it also was the combination of, first of all, you're glitching. Second, you're racist. Third, I didn't know about this glitch. This is my lead story tomorrow. So no, I got to play this to the end, whether you whether you like it or not. I got to see. I got to know everything there is. I got to know about as much about this glitch as you do for an entirely different reason. You're trying to exploit it. I'm trying to get somebody at Sony on the phone and figure out when we're rid of this. So,
See, that's the difference between me and you. Like you were doing it for a job. I'd have just done it to be petty. I just sleep be damn. I'm gonna be up till the sun comes up. Like we're
there
gonna sit
definitely
this one
was
out.
some of that.
Yeah, but y'all definitely need to go check that out because I thought it was a interesting read and a real insight into how weirdly competitive some people can be while just exploiting a glitch, which is
Yeah.
wild.
And we will also keep you updated because I'm hoping this gets patched soon. I've seen other people's content, so I am not the only one. Obviously, my opponent knew about the glitch, so yeah, it's one of those when you encounter a magic thing that's kind of filthy and needs to be banned. It's like you have to discuss it because it's warping the meta, but you almost hate to put it out there because it's going to lead to more unfun games because everybody that didn't know about it, or not everybody, but some portion of people will abuse the broken
Oh, of course.
interaction. And then, I see that comment all the time on man videos. Why are you telling people about this?
Yep.
Well, because, I mean, first of all, we're making content. Second of all, you need to know how to combat it once it exists. Because the good content creators show you both sides, how the glitch works and all, or exploit or whatever. Also, how to battle it because you're going to encounter it when something broken happens.
Yeah, that's one of the things, even just deck building for arena stuff, that I've had that thought of if this really is this good and I put this out there, like, am I ruining the experience for some people?
Great.
You know what I mean? Like, but also other people should know that it exists so they can try to prepare for it. You know what I mean? So it's a weird double-edged sword kind of a thing. So I feel you on that. All right, let's talk about what we learned this week because there was two very interesting things. Yours is kind of fun. Mine was more from a history lesson. So what you got?
Yeah, Avengers Doomsday starts its principal filming this week. So, before we know it, we're going to find out what version of Doctor Doom Robert Downey Jr. is playing and where they're going with this, what this means for a long term. Some of the last few movies have not hit the numbers that they wanted. Let's face it, one of the great and bad things about comic books is you can keep that characters don't age. You can tell the same stories with the same characters for a near infinite amount of time. Whereas with a movie, especially in the case of Chris Evans, or Captain America's a character that doesn't age, so that gives you a problem. Obviously, Chris Evans can't do that forever. You can
No, what is
CGI,
he entering? Year 14 is Captain America? Something
right?
like that. 13? But yeah, a long
Wolverine,
time.
same thing. Character isn't supposed to age. So what do you, depending on which version of Tony Stark you're using, he is taking extremists and he probably doesn't age at the same rate as normal people at any rate, because he's essentially at that point superhuman and wearing armor. But main thing is, I guess Disney need a shot of some superheroes that we kind of sort of know to get the numbers back up. So we'll see
Dude,
what
it's funny
happens.
you mention that because I've been looking at the reviews on the Thunderbolts. They are high.
Yeah,
Like, people, like, and I'm not even joking. I saw two separate reviews that said one said it was their favorite, and one said the best movie since Endgame.
I did see
And
that.
I was like, hold up. Like, really though? Right? Because
Well,
that's
I mean, if
high
you look
praise.
if you look at the team, none of these people are gods. So
Yeah. I mean, it's high. It might be that good. I'll
the
eventually go
the,
see it, but that's
the,
high
the most
praise.
powerful member of this team, arguably, is what I don't know. The Ghost, maybe because she can
Probably.
become intangible,
Yeah.
and they're going against the Sentry, who is essentially kind of like Marvel's evil, psychotic Superman.
Yeah, I
So
wouldn't
this
say
is
evil, but psychotic, yes.
well, the
Like,
Void is totally evil. The
well, sure,
ultimate
sure. Yeah,
personality
yeah.
is wants the end of everything.
So yeah, that'll be an interesting one. But yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll see. I like I said, I thought the latest Falcon was cool, or Captain America, but
Yeah.
I thought that was neat. So yeah, we'll see where they go. But man, if we have all the old school superheroes back in, we're gonna be in for a wild ride in the next couple of years of Marvel movies. I'll tell you that.
Well, that sounds like where they're going with Secret Wars, where we may even see multiple versions of Fantastic Four from the other movies.
Yep.
Rumor is that we're going to have all the Spider-Man back in action again.
Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy time. Like, they're gonna cash in over the next 3 years, that's for sure. Uh One of the things we talk about sometimes, and we've said on the show, like as gamers right now, we have an embarrassment of riches, right? There's almost too many games to even consider playing because we have like hell, especially if you play multiple types of games, you're talking about card games, board games, video games, whatever. There's like 8 new things a month that you're just never going to be able to play. Hell, there's usually like
Right?
5 video games, 6 or 7 board games, some
Easily
new
card
card game every
games.
other month.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just so much.
there are card games and video games. I mean, to try after I write the first story, it sounds great. Then the next story I end up writing is, oh, that went away. It's getting
Yeah.
discontinued. I meant to play it. Oops.
Well, because you just can't get the critical mass of players for a lot of these
Yeah,
AAA titles. And I was thinking about when was the last time that I remembered like it was an appointment game. Like everybody's set up, they were ready to get it, and then that's all you heard about for the next couple months. So I was like, as far back as I can remember, it's got to be one of the Halo games. So I went and looked it up. Halo 3 in the first 24 hours had over 1 million people log on and play. That's insane. Like, it's hard for almost any modern day game to get hell, some of them don't even get 1 million players online at any given time.
yeah.
Like
Unfortunately,
much less 1 million over the course of 24 hours, which is just an insane. Even back then, when you consider still not quite as many people still had easy access to high speed computers and blah, blah, and whatever,
right?
getting on consoles as best they could, if they had high speed internet, you know, crazy to think about those numbers. But if you go look at the landscape, there weren't as many major titles every month. It was probably Halo and like 2 or 3 other things.
Yeah.
So everybody went and played
Especially if
Halo.
all you had was an Xbox. And
Yeah.
then that's definitely a lot of people only have, the one console.
Yeah, for sure. So I was just trying to explain to people like the market is so different, and that's kind of the danger of when we try to compare numbers of, oh, well, this sold this well, or this had this many players, or this has this many people streaming it online. It's just like none of those individual numbers tell the whole story, right? Like we've talked about it before where you don't see that many people streaming Magic online, but like Magic still makes all this money. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, how is that possible if you don't hell? I've said it before, like Raid Shadow Legends almost has nobody playing it, it seems like online, but hell, they still market on 1,000 different streams and
right?
YouTubes and whatever. So it's like money's
Some
coming from
things
people are
just
playing it,
aren't
man.
necessarily a great viewer or user experience, yet that doesn't mean it's a bad game. Magic is a
Yeah.
prime example of there is so much going on to where, as somebody that, if like, let's say I tune in and watch Call of Duty. Okay, even if I've never played the game before, I have a basic understanding of, okay, these six people are shooting these six people, and then you can kind of learn from there what the perks are, what the kill streaks. Magic, if you sit down and you know literally nothing, it becomes a very hard thing to follow and to comprehend and have any idea what's going on.
Well, yeah, I'll even use Marvel Snap as an example because we all know Marvel Snap's popular.
Yeah,
Most of us have at least attempted to play it at some point or whatever if you don't currently play it. It has one streamer right now with 1,000 viewers. There's somebody else with 200. And then below that, somebody with 72. And then nobody else has more than like 25, 30.
yeah,
And a bunch of people have single digits that are streaming. And we know that's one of the most popular
right.
handheld card games, right? Digital card games. But there's just not that many people online streaming it or watching streams for it.
Sometimes it takes a really good content creator, as I've talked about here many times. The synergy between Ninja and Fortnite will be studied
Oh,
for
yeah.
years. I don't know if either one becomes as big without the other.
Yeah, maybe not, honestly. And man, Ninja got to cash in like 3 different times. That was crazy
Right?
because he had the exclusive Twitch thing, and then Mixer tried for that 4-year window or whatever that was, and gave him a big contract. And when that was done, he got another contract with Twitch. So he cashed in, I don't know, like $40 million or something over a couple of years. It's like good on him.
Because one of the things we've learned in sports is that, yeah, okay, to some extent, people hate dynasties, especially when it's a team sport. But for a single player sport, which is essentially what Fortnite is, you need a Tiger Woods, a ninja, somebody that just walks onto the field and obliterates everybody in their path. It's incredible to watch.
Yeah, hard to argue with you. I mean, you do need somebody to at least be the standard bearer.
Yeah, they're like the face of the game, so to speak.
But yeah, like I said, the takeaway from that for me was just explaining that, hey, try to put the whole story together when you're looking at numbers, right? Looking at any one thing is going to be hard because, again, the thing where you're drawing that parallel to, that whole situation, market, industry looks way different than it does now. So you can't expect the same things. But all right, let's get into a couple of topics here and cover some pretty interesting things. The first is one that had players a little upset this past week because there was a Chaos Vault secret lair, Adventures of the Little Witch, as it was called, that had a really high ticket price on it. Regular ones were going for $29.99, foil ones for $59.99. And my first thought was, okay, well, are these some cards that are just way out of print, highly desirable, whatever? Not really, surprisingly. I don't think any one of these is worth more than probably $12, and a couple of them are worth like $1. So it was a little weird to see that. But then the foil being double the value at 60, the only thing I could think of was maybe the artist was expensive to get because they get, exclusive artists to do this 4 or 5 cards, whatever it is. The artist here is Heikala, Heikala, who I am not familiar with. I'm not familiar with their art style. But I was like, I'm pretty sure this is a lot higher than previous secret layers. So I went back and looked, and there's like the foil Hatsune Miku stuff that's $39.99 compared to $59.99. And we know the HM stuff is way popular,
Yeah.
right? So, and again, popular license. The Ghostbusters ones, I think, are $39.99. So I'm like, I don't understand or know why. I mean, I get why players are bothered. The other part too, which is also weird, is that the regular version is already showing as low stock on the website. So either they didn't print a lot of them for whatever reason, so the stock went low faster, or some significant number of people still wanted these even at the higher price, which is wild. And I don't know which is which. I mean, could be, hey, we don't think we're going to sell a lot, so we only print a small amount and we put a higher ticket price so we can get closer to the number we want to hit. Maybe, you know, I don't know, but I don't. What do you make of something like this? Because I'm kind of confused.
I also thought the Little Witch, I guess, is not a license because it almost sounds like a cartoon character or a comic
No,
book. But I
it's
guess
more just a title for the grouping of the four cards.
okay, yeah, I don't know why this is high either. Because
I got nothing. People ask me, and I said that's the best I got. Is maybe the artist was expensive.
which
I
again is
mean,
not something players are going to care about because if they knew who the artist was and they I guess would be willing to pay more for the card. So it's just if anybody out there knows why the Secret Lair is more expensive than the rest of them, please feel free to share.
I mean, if they'd have got like hell, I don't know, Banksy to do four cards, then sure, charge $100 for them or whatever. People would
Alex
love that.
Ross,
Yeah, exactly, something like
get some
that.
of my money.
But otherwise, I don't really know. I and
And there it is a thing. There's only probably a certain price you can charge if nobody knows why they should want these cards. Or maybe they just figured they'd try it, see if they get away with it. And as you mentioned, we may get the numbers at the end and they still all sold out at that price, at which point, yeah, they can keep
well,
doing that.
I just had another thought of what if they didn't expect this to go crazy, but they're testing a number to see what the threshold is for people
That's what I'm thinking.
because they might have to pay more for upcoming secret layers if you do Japanese artists for some Final Fantasy related ones, or you
Right.
do old school Marvel artists. You
Yep.
go get you a Todd McFarlane, a Jim Lee, whatever to do some X-Men variants or Spider-Man variants or whatever.
Right.
Because I could see those guys going like, "Hey, I'll do it, but it's going to cost,
Yep.
I don't know, 100 grand, 50 grand, whatever it is." You
I'll
know,
draw your Spider-Man if you're willing to pay.
but dude, think about it. Like, if people knew they were getting four new Todd McFarlane Spider-Mans,
Right.
they might be down. Four new Jim Lee Wolverines. Like people might be into that. I don't know. So maybe that's what this is about. Now that I'm thinking about it, we might have just discovered something by accident. Who knows? But yeah, next up, this is more touching on the fact that we had mentioned. Oh man, this was a while ago, closer to the beginning of the year, that Diamond was filing for bankruptcy, and Diamond is the big comic distributor across the U.S. Has the licenses with all the big studios, and they also own or were the parent company for Alliance Game Distributors, who it was was being the operative word, the biggest game distributor in the U.S. for most local game stores. Well, there's a whole crazy thing that some people may have heard about that WotC is no longer going to be doing business with Alliance. Now, I only went deep diving because I saw somebody mention that, oh, well, something must be going on behind the scenes and Wizards is going to be having trouble. And it's like, no, no, no. That's not what's going on at all. First of all, there are still four other major distributors in the US and like a handful of smaller ones. And almost every local game store I can think of, actually, all of them have accounts with more than one of these distributors. So they will still be able to get Magic cards. Magic cards are still going to go out. Wizards still has their international partners distributing. Things are fine. As far as Wizards and Alliance business, Alliance is, according to the reports, was down on Wizard of the Coast sales 8% over the last, I believe it was 4 years, while every other distributor was significantly up on sales. And of course, Wizards has also been up on sales. So that was already a reason they were looking at stepping away. Now, that's kind of just the direct Wizards to Alliance thing. The rest of this is where it gets very dirty. Because at the end of 2024, either November, December, their contract with Alliance was already going to run out and you have to renew whatever. It's just a distribution contract. However, because of the numbers, Wizards was already considering stepping away and saying, hey, y'all get your stuff together. We're going to do more business with other people. Well, supposedly, and again, this is all still has to go to court, whatever. I'm just reading through different documents and reports and interviews. But the way I understand it is Diamond had a conversation with Wizards and says, "Hey, can we extend that through like February, March 25, just so we can get stuff wrapped up, blah blah, whatever." And subsequently, later on, it got extended through the end of April, which is why it's an official ending now. But apparently, Diamond did not say anything about that to the executives at Alliance. This is important because Alliance, which I didn't know, was apparently going to just try to buy Diamond outright, saying like, "Hey, we're still a big moneymaker. We think we can still take this on. We're just going to buy the company." Well, that's kind of important for them to know that Wizards wants to drop the deal,
Yeah,
right?
that's a large
But
chunk of money.
yeah, but I guess Diamond was trying to keep that hush hush so that while they're going through the process of trying to resolve stuff with different vendors, possibly look for other buyers, nobody knows that this, what is 25% of the business for Alliance, is potentially going away. So it got really ugly. Supposedly now Alliance is no longer trying to buy Diamond. They are now in a lawsuit against them with a whole bunch of different things with, breach of contract, you know, three or four different big legal things, business side, that are happening involving that. So it's become kind of a pretty ugly mess in a matter of a couple of months. And the timing of all of it is just rough. But no, Wizards is not struggling. No, this has nothing to do with Wizards of the Coast. Yes, your local store will still be able to get cards. Yes, stuff will be distributed around the country. It just won't be coming from Alliance game distributors, at least I would assume for the foreseeable future, and or until all this legal stuff is resolved and then they can get back into distributing stuff for Wizards of the Coast with the new agreement. But man, it's crazy, Brian. I mean, it's a wild time. And again, we agreed this is pretty insider baseball
Yeah,
stuff. But it's more I'm putting out there because the minute I start seeing people share information that's just wrong, I just want to have something publicly to say, no, this is what's really going on. Wizards is fine. Your cards are fine. Magic is going to still be made. They're probably going to make another, I don't know, 20, $30 million more than last year because these next two Universes Beyond things coming out. It's like they're going to be fine. So don't worry about that. But some really bad news is EA is laid off people again, and a lot this time too. The numbers
yeah,
we're seeing is between 300 and 400 people, with 100 of them coming from just Respawn Studios, which is basically the studio that made two or three big titles for them.
yeah. And they also are working on several of the Star Wars titles. I think they do the Jedi Survivor series and the new one they just announced, which is Star Wars Zero County, which I think is basically Star Wars XCOM. If you hadn't heard about that,
Hell yeah,
I'm very excited for it. I hope hope nothing bad happens with it.
yeah. The same
And
studio. Oh, go ahead.
there were also rumors that there would be a Titanfall 3, and this seems to really probably put the kibosh on that because I mean it was already probably a long shot because are you really making a sequel to a game series where the first two didn't sell that well? I don't know, especially if you're having to lay people off. They apparently aren't going to make any more Dragon Age games, and Dragon Age, even on the low end, sells way more than Titanfall. So
Which is wild because I believe the number I saw on Dragon Age was they only sold 1.5 million units, which
yeah,
was
which
like half of what they expected.
but also we're in a time now where RPGs are not even close to the top genre in games anymore. There was a
Yeah.
time where if you looked at the game charts, especially in Final Fantasy's heyday when Final Fantasy came out, that it was Grand Theft Auto. Final Fantasy ate the charts for 2 years. It's not that way anymore. There are 5 or 6 game genres now that didn't exist in Final Fantasy and even Dragon Age's heyday.
Oh yeah,
Fortnite wasn't a thing back then.
because you had Fable, Elder Scrolls,
Yeah,
like there was a whole list of them. That's almost all anybody played for a minute. Yeah, I this keeps coming back, where I if I had a game studio right now, I would be making my focus on something that wouldn't necessarily be branded a AAA title. Because we see so many of those, like the Balatros of the world or whatever. that sell gangbusters, make a ton of money, and that was a one-man job, basically. I mean, it took him a couple years, but it was one guy. Imagine what you could do with the studio if you were trying to knock out a game that was just fun, lots of replay value, don't have to have all this downloadable content, you don't need an online service, you don't need whatever. Like, just make a quality thing that makes the brand, 50 million, 100 million and move on.
Game executives can't understand that we don't need DLC. As far as they're concerned, video games are delivery schemes for DLC. They want it all on. Dragon Age is a perfect example. Part of why Dragon Age failed in their eyes is because it didn't have enough online components. Nobody wants online components in their RPG for the most part.
Oh, definitely not. Now, if the download component is, say 9 months later, you're like, hey, here's some stuff for levels 20 to 25. We gave you more
Yeah,
you can play or something. Like, sure. But if it's not that, new classes or something or whatever, like, then who wants it? Like, that's such a weird thing. Like, again, we keep coming back to Baldur's Gate 3, but Baldur's Gate was literally just there was one thing you could buy when you purchased it. I think it was some extra gold and like a
yeah.
cloak or something else, and that was it. Like, you had one package of things you could buy outside of the actual game. The rest was all free downloads. And after paying licensing fees, employees, development, whatever, but the last thing I saw is they made almost $600 million.
Yeah.
Like, and that was a small studio at the time. Larian now they're probably balling now, but
Of course, Hasbro's current CEO apparently actually plays D&D from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
That, that
Mm-hmm.
that's that is probably not the case at a lot of companies. You got a lot of people in charge of game companies that probably have never played a game, certainly never played the game that made them all their money, and oftentimes you can tell by their quotes when they try to tell you what happened. I remember Bobby Kotick one time said the reason the Spider-Man games at the time for Activision weren't working because the web swinging was wrong. But in most cases, the web swinging was the only part of the game that was fun.
Yeah, I still remember playing that actual one, and it was fine.
Yeah. There are many other problems with a lot of those other Spider-Man games, but no, usually web swinging in almost every Spider-Man game, the one thing that was always fun was just swinging from one. Even in Marvel Rivals, where it's not the main focus, one of the most fun things about Spider-Man is you can however big the map is, if you know what you're doing, you can get from one side to the other in 3 to 4 swings,
Yeah,
and that's the essence of being Spider-Man.
yeah, it's
One
like
of
a
the
Hulk jump.
Yeah. One of the things they revealed was that Peter Parker never got his driver's license. It was like, how did that happen? Like, first of all, I live in New York. Second of all, I became Spider Man when I was 15 years old.
Yeah,
I've
why would he
never
need a driver's
been in a
license?
car.
Exactly.
There's no car he can get in that's faster than Manhattan, Queens.
Oh, especially not through New York. I'll tell you that.
Right.
Like, with
Yeah.
traffic. Yeah, it's a weird thing, man, and it's tough because I feel like we keep seeing these smaller games come out, do gangbusters. Now, admittedly, it's not a ton. We'll see, 3 to 5 a year, but then we see an exorbitantly large number of these AAA titles that come out and they die, and we're not even talking about them in 2 months.
Yeah. Or
It's
we're
some
talking about it because they lost the Warner Brothers 200 million
well,
Suicide
yeah,
Squad.
yeah,
Cough,
we're talking
cough.
about them for negative reasons, right? So that's the tough thing to me is like at some point, I feel like somebody has to step into one of these studios and be like, hey, what if we just break off a team to work on this type of thing? And let's just develop these other games. Like, the Don't Starves, the different type of side scrollers you used to be able to play on like the Xbox downloadable stuff, like there's like Castle Crashers, stuff like that.
Probably you
You know,
would have to get executives comfortable with making way less money, and good luck with that. Because
well, I
Don't
mean,
Starve isn't ever going to generate, what Call of Duty or Madden
oh,
generates.
sure,
That
but
you
it
just got
also
to
costs
accept
you
that.
like 1/20th of the same amount to produce.
In
Like
theory,
that's the other thing. But yeah, I mean, I wish the best for all these developers, the programmers, everybody being let go. But yeah, I don't know what's going to become of Respawn at this point.
I remember about 2 years ago this month, Rumbleverse and Multiverses both launched. both won, fighting game of the year for their respective years. They're both gone because they didn't make Warner Brothers enough money, or in the case of Roller, didn't make Epic enough money. Incredible games, but they were never going to make the hundreds of millions that those companies expected them to.
Yeah, but they put a ton into them. And again, also expect there to be a lot of online play, downloadable stuff, characters, whatever. And it's just, I don't know, people just weren't for it. It's tough. But all right, let's talk about a fun dinner table conversation because I don't know really how I would approach this one, but Brian, do you have a game you play that you would classify as like your relaxation, de-stress, downtime game?
I guess probably Marvel Snap, because off the top of my head, I have no idea what my ranking in Marvel Snap is. I don't grind it hard. I don't worry about it. I just play it because it's fun and because I like Marvel superheroes.
That's fair. I mean, I don't even think I booted up Snap in a year at this point. Um, I don't know. I've been playing Balatro on my downtime, but
Yeah,
it's mostly because it's quick, it's simple. Even
right.
if I get through a whole game, it's probably about 15 minutes, to work my way through all the processes or whatever, all the challenges, I guess, for one deck, which is cool. I mean, but I guess I see that as low stress because I'm not. There's no pressure. There's not like a ranking. You fail, you just
Exactly.
retry. You know, I think everybody needs something like that so they're not always high. So, because I said before, like if your games stress you out, why are you playing them? When I see people mad all the time at their, I'm gonna say favorite game because I don't know how something's your favorite if it's just keeping you angry all the time. But they'll keep playing it, and I'm just like, why though?
I
Any
think
game,
there's something therapeutic in being mad about something that doesn't really matter. It's why we love sports. Like, yeah, I'm angry when the Saints lose, but did it cost me any money unless I bet on it? Which I try to rarely bet on the Saints because I know they're going to implode. But yeah, we still get angry about our favorite LSU. Same thing. I get mad when they lose, but it doesn't really have any real impact on my life. It's something to get angry about that I can just be angry for a little while, then go, just go let it go.
bro? We are Saints and Cowboys fans. If you bet on those, you deserve to be broke. I'm just being real. I mean, like that's just life. But yeah, I mean, I guess I could see something to that, right? Trying to be angry at something where there's no consequences, like maybe maybe that is a thing for some people. For me, I just like if it's not work or something I have to do with stakes that matter for some reason, I don't want there to be stress. Like I just want to do it for fun, relax, and then go on about my day. You know. So I think that's why. That's probably the reason. I mean, for sure, one of the reasons I don't play a lot of online games with other people these days.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely a real thing. I've cut a lot of that out of my gaming diet, and people always ask me, "How are you so happy? How are you so stress free or whatever?" It's like, man, I do my best to lead a stress free life, and that's one of those things. But yeah, I'd be interested to know what other people's games are that fill that for them because I'm sure there's something I haven't thought about that I'll go like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
If somebody else has something,
Well, I mean, there's a whole cozy gaming genre. They're
yeah,
really games that are designed to. I would say Sims is really stress free because again, there's not any
yeah,
kind of rank to grind. You're not competing. You're really even the milestones are things like, hey, go to college, make this amount of fictional money or
yeah.
whatever.
I guess the games that fall in that genre of like Animal Crossing
Yeah.
or whatever the other popular
Although
one is.
Tom Nook is a freaking
Tom
cheater.
Nook's a crook.
Yeah, basically, he'll stress you out. I gotta get these bells. Tom
Exactly.
Nook is coming.
But yeah, I don't. There's probably that genre. You're right. There's a lot in that space. Matter of fact, I meant to read the article, but all the way through. But I remember somebody recently wrote an article, something titled like "Games ask me to do everything, so it's nice when the game asks me to do nothing."
Right.
You know, and I sort of related to that because man, there's some games you just feel like. An example for me is I tried to sit in with somebody playing World of Warcraft with all their mods,
Yeah.
playing a healer during a raid.
Oh
And that was
God.
the most
Yeah.
insane looking thing. And I'm like, it literally looks like a control panel, like a switchboard in a cockpit with things lighting up and you got to highlight and click certain characters and you have people in groups and you're dropping spells and I'm like, why? Like this doesn't
Well,
look.
support in general is like that because oh god, your tank is taking too much damage. There's some deep, like again, Marvel Rivals. There's some Spider-Man that's gone entirely too deep in the enemy team. Like, where are my heals, bro? I can't even see you.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
Spider-Man. I can't. I can't get the heal beam to you. You're on your own once you go that far.
Yeah, that's a bit much for me, man. I'm not trying to do all that work. Like,
There's actually a support player strike in Marvel Rivals right now because they're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I bet, man, I would be one of those people. Get me a picket sign. Shoot.
Agree?
But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting how people treat games, and I like I said, the idea of some games do ask you to do a lot,
Yeah.
and I think that's what's also got me to just not look at some of these games. Just like, man, it's like I said, oh, what's that game? The one that's like super difficult to play, like the adventure fantasy game, but whatever.
Dark Souls.
Yeah, that whole line of stuff. Like, I'm never gonna play a Dark Souls game.
Great.
I just know because I'm never gonna finish it. So I'm not even gonna start because I don't need to try to fight the same bad guy 15 times or whatever. Like, that's cool. I get why people like it. Ain't for me.
Yeah.
But all right, man.
Some people aren't enjoying it unless they're having their butt kicked
Well,
repeatedly,
yeah.
and
Some people need that. Some people, there's a reason some people are sadists and some people are masochists, and they
right.
gotta get their jam on in gaming. I get it. But tell people where they can find you, dude, when you're not doing the show.
All right, apptrigger.com is where I'm writing it, and then apptrigger is also on Blue Sky. Please, if you have a moment, come over here because one of the things on our job application is that we send to everybody is hey, if you do this site, can you also update the Twitter and Facebook? So I'm really trying to get them to kind of move to that next phase. So please, if you can, we still have a Twitter and Facebook, but it's Twitter and Facebook, and I think you kind of all know how that's going.
Well, y'all should go over there anyway because you need to read the story from this week because it was totally worth reading. You'll enjoy the read. But yeah, you want to follow me everywhere at PowrDragn, PowrDragn, and we have all kinds of stuff right now on the YouTube channel, so go check that out. But as always, wherever you are watching or listening, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Please remember to take care of yourselves and your family. Remember to be awesome. And my goodness, right now with everything going on in the world, be awesome to each other.